Hello friends, my name is Sofin, and today I want to tell you about a new movie called Love Hurts. It's a mixture of romance and action comedy about a former killer being dragged back into his old life for one last mission. Luke Passmore, Josh Stoddard, and Matthew Murray wrote the screenplay while Jonathan Usabayo directed the film. It stars Ke Huy Quan, Ariana DeBose, and Mustafa Shakir. Alright, this film starts by introducing us to Ke Huy Quan's character Marvin. Marvin is the nicest guy on the planet. He's friendly to everyone, generous, and loved by all. So when he's randomly attacked at a work party by a deadly assassin, it seems a little out of character. Then we learn about his past as a deadly assassin. We're introduced to key characters like his former associate Rose, his fellow assassin Raven, and his brother Knuckles. We see Marvin defend himself from several attacks while attempting to find some form of safety. Using martial arts and a quick survival sense, Marvin manages to discover a way to put an end to all of the chaos by making a lasting strike at those responsible. The movie follows Marvin's journey to discover what's going on and make amends for his past. Which brings me to the film's positives. The story has a lot of exciting moments in it in the form of hand-to-hand combat, little bits of humor, and 3 love stories. Ke Huy Quan does a fantastic job in the lead role, putting on a performance reminiscent of Jackie Chan's greatest moments. The visual journey is simple, straightforward, and cleanly executed with several big standout fight scenes to enjoy. Sound-wise, the film is quite catchy and fun, with flavor pouring out of it. Okay, the story is fast-paced and stuffed full of content. It throws us in right in the middle and gives us an action sequence within 10 minutes. From there on, it's a sprint to survive. There's non-stop fighting between Marvin and the different henchmen hired to kill him, and in between the fights we get little bits of love story from Marvin and Rose, the Raven and Ashley, and Otis and his old lady. For humor, they have a lot of crass jokes and good contrast material. There's also a few visual gags while Marvin is fighting. He's always using unexpected objects to fight and always trying to leave his opponents as unharmed as possible. The contrast between this adorable, cute little man and the absolute carnage he creates makes for quite a few belly laughs. Ke Huy Quan is also doing a fantastic job of the role. He plays the geeky nice guy well, coming off as a somewhat bland but friendly person. During the combat scenes, he makes all kinds of funny faces and has absurd reactions that make the fight look hilarious. His performance suffers a little bit during the romance sections, but it isn't his fault. They just don't give him or Ariana the material they need to make it work, and so he's left trying to create a love story from scraps. He's got good emotional range and does what he can, but there's not much chemistry between him and DeBose. Visually, the journey takes place in a modern city with normal locations. His house, an office building, and a couple of bars. Marvin fights his way across the city, escaping danger and having intense confrontations with different people. The journey is easy to follow, and doesn't have any confusing moments while looking quite standard for this type of film. Where it stands out is in the big action sequences. The fights employ all kinds of editing tricks and special effects to create fast-paced, high-intensity action. Each fight feels like a fight to the death, with Marvin just barely surviving against all odds. He uses everything and anything around him to fight back, and it makes for a ton of great moments. Little bits of comedy arise from it too as he hits someone with a pillow or throws fridge magnets at them. In the end, they even have a big fight scene for the climax. It's like 15 minutes of non-stop action and a lot of fun. Sound-wise, the film uses original songs with a few instrumentals here and there. There's a lot of hip-hop and dance music that comes in at a good volume. It's fun and catchy music that brings a lot of flavor to the scenery. It's never too loud, doesn't interfere with the dialogue, but also isn't meshing all that well with the story, which brings me to the negatives. Love Hurts has a story that's told badly and doesn't make any sense. There's several cast members whose delivery is flat out bad, and the soundtrack is a bit disconnected from the actual feelings. Starting with the story. It's one of those things where they cut it up to make it more interesting, but it just feels like listening to your uncle tell a story while he's drunk. He's constantly having to go back and add in information he missed. He skips sections to try and build the mystery, but it just leaves you lost, and because there's so much information packed in, you don't know what to care about. In the end, it just doesn't work. It doesn't flow properly and ends up feeling really disjointed in how it's told. There is a good story at the heart of this film, but it doesn't get the emotions across properly and doesn't build good relationships, which ends up affecting the cast in a lot of ways. They don't have the opportunity to really flesh out these characters and relationships in a satisfying way. They don't get to express big emotions or work through morally gray situations. They just talk at each other and then move on. There's a few people in the cast who can't pull it off. Their lines come out wooden, and the dialogue just sounds awful. They're not a big part of the story and don't completely ruin the movie, but there's enough bad deliveries that I had trouble sitting through it. Sound-wise, the film doesn't match the music with the story at all. Like I said, the songs are entertaining, but they don't add sadness, love, tragedy, or danger to the scenery. They're just upbeat, fun songs that you'll quickly forget about. If they had used them a little more precisely, the story might have had a lot more punch to it. Personally, I liked the idea of the film, but found the execution extremely lacking. Instead of being a fun romantic comedy with a side of action, it's an action film with a tease of romance and a lot of bro humor. It's not trying anything new, it's not treading new ground, it's just another simple action comedy with pretenses of love. As for a rating, I'd give this film a 5 out of 10. There's a few good moments, just enough to make sitting through it tolerable, but you probably won't watch it more than once. There just isn't enough here to enjoy. Remember, these are just my thoughts. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Bye-bye.